Welcome back to Forge College. Today, we're unrolling the engineering blueprints, literally sketching out how bundlers actually work. Now, this explainer is a core part of our Introduction to Bundlers and Paymasters module, picking up right where we left off with the whole What is ERC 4337 discussion. Look, if smart contract wallets are the shiny, high-performance sports cars of Web3, well, bundlers, they're the highly caffeinated mechanics working off-chain in the garage, just relentlessly keeping the whole engine running. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We'll do a quick ERC 4337 recap, formally meet the bundler, dive into a really helpful postal hub analogy, walk through the core 5-step mechanical pipeline, weigh the bundler's prioritization and trade-offs, and then wrap up with what comes next.
Right, part 1, ERC 4337 recap and that brand new transaction submission model. Let's look at the stark contrast between the old way and the new way. Back in the day, externally owned accounts just hurled raw transactions directly at the network. I mean, it was basically like throwing cash out your window at a toll booth while driving 60 miles an hour. Super rigid. But now, smart contract wallets craft these things called user operations. These are off-chain objects that float around in a specialized waiting pool, totally separate from main blockchain traffic. It gives us, and developers, so much more flexibility.
Moving to Section 2, meet the bundler, the ultimate off-chain operator. So, since these user operations are just kind of floating out there in an off-chain pool, we actually need specialized machinery to swoop in and scoop them up. Enter the bundler. Think of them as specialized off-chain infrastructure agents with a very specific high-stakes job. They collect these floating operations, ruthlessly check them for basic validity, so they don't waste anyone's time, batch them neatly together, and then fire them off as one single massive transaction to the blockchain's entry point contract. Now, here's a really crucial distinction. Bundlers are not your actual wallet, and they aren't blockchain consensus nodes either. You really want to view them as specialized market makers for ERC 4337 flows. They are the essential operational bridge, translating your off-chain intention into on-chain reality. And, just like any complex piece of infrastructure, they operate predictably, efficiently, and they absolutely expect to be compensated for the service they're providing. Section 3, the postal hub analogy. Let's break down the mechanics. To really wrap our heads around how this machinery operates, without drowning in all the cryptography jargon, let's step away from the code for a second. Imagine the bundler is a massive, highly efficient regional postal sorting hub. And your user operations? They're the incoming letters and parcels piling up on the loading dock, just begging to be shipped out to their final destination. Now, this hub follows incredibly strict rules to avoid total chaos. First up, they check the metadata. Is the postage paid? Is the signature valid? And crucially, they do all of this without ever actually opening your parcel or altering its contents. Next, they group compatible items together to save on shipping overhead. Finally, they pack them all into one massive delivery truck and hand that truck over to the national carrier, which in our Web3 world is the entry point contract on the blockchain. All right, Section 4, the 5-step pipeline. Let's look at the actual mechanical assembly. Every single user operation has to survive a very precise 5-step life cycle to actually make it on-chain. It's basically a gauntlet of verification. We've got receipt, pre-simulation, prioritization, the outer transaction, and finally, post-operation reconciliation. Let's zoom in on this assembly line. In Step 1, the bundler receives the operation and syntactically verifies the basics, parsing out things like nonces and signatures. But Step 2? Well, that's where the real magic happens. Simulation. The bundler essentially test drives the delivery route locally. Why? Because if the transaction crashes and burns on the actual blockchain, the bundler loses real money on gas. So this simulation estimates exact gas usage and validates any attached paymaster identity to make absolutely sure the operation is safe to execute. Moving down the belt to Step 3, the bundler prioritizes the parcels. Naturally, the highest tipping packages get loaded onto the truck first. Express mail rules definitely apply here. It balances the total weight of the batch against network gas limits and then encodes everything into a single HandleOps transaction. And here is the kicker. For Step 4, the bundler actually pulls out its own wallet and pays the upfront gas fee to the network just to submit this massive batch. So wait, if the bundler fronted the money, how do they stay in business? Well, that brings us to Step 5, post-op reconciliation. Once the network confirms the delivery, the entry point contract inspects the on-chain receipt. It immediately reimburses the bundler for the gas it just spent.
pulling those funds directly from the user's account or their connected paymaster, plus a little extra fee for the bundler's trouble.
Section 5. Prioritization and tradeoffs. How do they make these decisions?
Because the bundler is putting its own capital on the line, it relies on a very strict decision matrix to run the sorting hub. Notice the trade-offs here. Got a high priority fee? Great. That acts like a bribe for express delivery, getting you included early in the batch. But if your nonce is out of order or your operation has a massive risky gas estimate, the bundler is going to hold your package in the warehouse or severely limit the bundle size just to protect its own downside.
It is a total high-wire balancing act. Think about it. If a bundler decides to skip the simulation step just to process things faster, it risks paying out of pocket for broken operations that fail on chain. But on the flip side, if it crams way too many operations into one giant truck to save on overhead, a single rogue operation could cause the whole batch to revert. This is exactly why wallet developers absolutely must supply highly accurate gas estimates. Otherwise, your transaction is just getting left on the loading dock.
Which brings us to our final section, number 6. What comes next?
This entire mechanical pipeline leaves us with a pretty fascinating multi-million-dollar cliffhanger. We know the bundler pays the blockchain carrier upfront for the outer transaction, right? But what if the end user doesn't actually have any ETH in their wallet to pay the bundler back? Who exactly is stepping in to sponsor that final cost?
And that exact question tees up our next explainer perfectly. We are going to introduce you to paymasters. These are specialized smart contracts that swoop in and magically flip this entire fee structure on its head. They allow users to pay gas in stablecoins, or even have decentralized apps sponsor their fees entirely. It's a total game changer.
So if bundlers are taking on all this risk to ensure smooth, gasless transactions for everyday users, it really makes you wonder, will the traditional pay-your-own-gas model even exist in 5 years? Or is it going to become entirely obsolete? Something to chew on. To keep building your understanding of account abstraction and to explore all of our Web3 topics, make sure you visit us at forge.college. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.